anything else.
We don't want to know!
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuit!
Everybody loves Hippo
Scary Dog!
Benson at Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast. This is TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is Harley Quinn, brought to you by the good people at DC Universe, S. Sugar D Productions, Yes Norman Productions, DC Entertainment, Warner Brothers Animation, Warner Brothers Television Distribution. Joining me tonight in talking about the first 13 episodes of said Harley Quinn, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Wright. How do you do, sir?
I am good, Mark. Ever since my parents came over to Canada and started their lives as left-handed West Coast bagpipe technician immigrants, they always forced that I would take on the business, but no, that was not for me. I decided that I wanted to be a dancer, so I moved out to L.A., where I've been working at a bar steadily, trying to find my way, despite the difficulties of being a small-town boy in a big city. And I am not David Wright. It is me, Clayface, thespian extraordinaire. End scene.
How long have you been working on that bit?
About a day.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah.
For a second there, I thought you were doing Weird Al Yankovic.
No, that's Albuquerque.
Oh, okay. So, you wanted to talk about this show. No, I wanted to talk about it because it's comic books, it's animation, it's Harley Quinn. Why did you want to talk about this show tonight?
Well, as I mentioned before, my wife's a Harley Quinn fan, so whenever anything comes up that is Harley Quinn related, I usually take a look to see if she'd be interested. So, I looked at the trailer for the Harley Quinn series and thought, hey, this looks kind of funny. And then once the show came out and people started posting clips online, I'm like, yeah, this seems pretty good. So then I, started watching the show, and I'm like, yeah, this is a good show. Why not talk about it?
Since Harley Quinn has debuted in Batman the Animated Series, this is probably the best interpretation of that character in a non-comic book medium, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say so.
If this came out around the same time as the Birds of Prey movie, and I remember, this started in November, Birds of Prey came out last month, and I had been saying at the time that,
Wow, we're already 3 minutes in, and we've already mentioned Birds of Prey.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
This is the version of Harley Quinn that they should have gone with, not whatever interpretation they came up with for those films.
I mean, Margot Robbie, I think she plays the part well, but yeah, I think as far as the writing goes, this show definitely does everything that they wanted to do with Birds of Prey better.
I think this captures, especially the New 52 Harley Quinn as her own person, Harley Quinn. I remember, and I've been talking about that recently. I read the part of the New 52 run where her and the Joker break up, and she goes to Brooklyn and all of that, and she starts a whole new life. And I said, this really is the best Harley Quinn. This is the most fun Harley Quinn, and that's a lot of what this show is. Her, and it's an exploration of dysfunctional relationships. And I think they do a really good job with that in this show. But it's also it's her. If you've ever known somebody whose whole life was tied up in another person, and that other person is then gone, and then the person remaining has to figure out who they are as an individual, that's what the show is about. But it's dressed up in comic book characters, and a lot of it really irreverent humor. There's no hardcore nudity in it or anything, or sex, but there's a lot of cursing.
Definitely. Graphic violence. Mature themes.
Sure. Colorful uses of the word cunt. which I think
Yes.
which I think is hysterical.
That's like the one word they blot out. There's a lot of very confused people in Australia watching the show.
I don't understand. So the show's a lot of fun here, and I think go ahead.
Yeah, at my last job, we had a guy from Australia working with us, and he just threw the C word round all over the place. But heaven help you if you ever call him mate. It's like, you don't say that. You take that back. Not that kind of language around here.
Nice, well done.
Yeah.
So this is a breezy 13 episodes. These things are about 22 minutes apiece over on the old DC universe. So let's get into it. And like a lot of series, this thing breaks into parts. You have the introduction. There's not a whole lot of the world they have to develop because it's Gotham, it's Batman.
Yeah, you if you're watching a Harley Quinn show, you pretty much know who Batman and the Joker and what Gotham is by now.
So it's more of a matter of setting up where we are in this show and what's it all about. So you have the first, to death do us part, and it's Harley Quinn trying to rob a yacht, and she's sent to Arkham
after the Joker totally, takes over the heist from her.
Yeah.
They very quickly established that she wants to have a bigger role in the criminal relationship, and Joker's just not having any of it.
Nope, he doesn't share.
Yeah, kicks her to the curb when Batman shows up to get away, and she spends the rest of the episode pretty much believing that he's going to save her any moment in Arkham, despite it being, like 6 months or however many days Calendar Man says it is.
So then you move on to the high bar, and that's our introduction to, at the end of that episode, Harley officially breaks up with the Joker and declares her intention to make a name for herself, which then introduces us to the Legion of Doom in the second episode. And it's the Legion of Doom, theoretically, from the old Super Friends show, but they have a lot of fun with this version of it.
Best line is Poison Ivy. What, you mean Legion of Dildos? He's like, and then just Lex Luthor. That is a sex shop down the street in which we are within a protracted legal battle. Just the delivery is just perfect on that, and it just kind of tells you everything you need to know about the show.
Yeah. Their use of adult humor in this is they do a very good job with it.
I mean, I'm all for sort of bemoaning the sort of maturization is not the right way of putting it, but the more like adult oriented turn that comics are taking, where it's got to be sex, violence, grim and grit, because it's like weren't these like color books for like kids at one point, and we're not getting the kids into this outside of the MCU, but at the same time, oh geez, I just love all this stuff being played for laughs at the at the adult level. Geez, I really need to find a better way of doing that, because saying something as adult makes it sound like it's more sophisticated. There's more depth to it. Whereas no, it's just they say they swear and there's blood and guts and boobs and stuff. We'll get onto that a bit more when we eventually review Picard, I think. But
yeah.
Stay tuned. One.
Yeah, can't wait. So the second episode establishes her desire to join the Legion of Doom. And of course she can't, because she's perceived as Joker's sidekick, and even though she separated herself from him, there's still the perception of who she is, plus the fact that it is kind of a patriarchal, all male kind of a thing, and they're playing around with a lot of the exclusionary history in the United States with this. So she's like, all right, well, she needs, the thing that drives Harley Quinn is she needs validation, and the show plays around with the idea of she seeks, since she doesn't have the Joker there to validate her, she seeks validation through being accepted into this club as her own person. And they she's kind of set on a path then of having to create all of the pillars to prop herself up so that she can get on their level and be accepted into the group. So the first thing she needs is...
I mean, in fairness, you do kind of need to have some sort of like credentials to get into the Legion of Doom, right? Unless you're Bane, but that's a complicated story.
By the way, their use of Bane in this is fucking great.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, you also have Ivy throwing in that there is a bit of a glass ceiling for female villains. So, you can serve both.
Right. And that's the thing.
You need like an I, Tonya situation where it's like, it doesn't matter how good I do, I can skate the perfect routine, you still won't give me like the perfect score despite my performance because you don't like that I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks.
Right. And that's the thing. There's you use the word adult. There's the adult side of this where, the graphic violence, the cursing and all of that. But even if you took all that out, the themes of this are very much written for an adult audience.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the trick to like just a good story with good characters is a good story with good characters, regardless of that. We tend to view like the age appropriateness of things based off of like whether or not there's swearing or violence or sex in something. Where it's like if you look at the original Star Wars, for example, that was a story told to be a good story, and what made it appropriate for kids was that they just didn't have the graphic violence, give or take the odd arm getting cut off, no swearing or nudity, of anything, but it was still a good story. And you look at Batman the Animated Series, some of the best storytelling done with these characters that is timeless, and it's in a kids show, but they didn't dumb it down for the kids. They just didn't put any of the exclusionary things for the kids in that.
So, and I think one of the things that makes the show very successful is that it isn't just they're not. The show was written with a lot of love and care, and it takes a fair amount of big ideas and explores them through the prism of these really silly comic book characters that people adore. People love Harley Quinn, they love the Joker, they love a lot of these villain characters. They certainly love Batman, and my God, some of the stuff they do is I'm not going to get on, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like one of the best shows on television. That's a pretty high bar.
Yeah, but it's entertaining and well done.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely one of the better ones. It's pretty, and I think that's the point that I'm trying to drive home here. These first 3 or 4 episodes that get everything in motion are actually written at a fairly high level despite some of the silly content, which I thought was an interesting take on this. Like, a lot of my complaints about television is they take an idea and it's just kind of slapped together, and I just keep thinking about the Birds of Prey TV show, and how like broad based it was, and how mishandled, and then in 2019, 2020, you have this silly 22-minute cartoon that's 100% written better than that was. Yeah,
well, it's like this is like the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, sort of taking a serious look at, like this girl going through a breakup, and realizing that she was not in a good relationship, and now where do I go from here? What allows me to determine, my value for myself, and it's all done in this sort of like R-rated 60s Batman universe.
So, the third episode is So You Need a Crew. And this is where she puts together the group of Clayface, Dr. Psycho, which Dr. Psycho cracked me up.
Yeah, me too.
He calls Giganta a cunt on national television. And despite everything he was doing, that was the perceived worst thing, and it got him kicked out of the Legion of Doom.
Well, I mean, that is kind of the world we live in now.
Yeah, really.
But I also just kind of like it's hilarious that they have like supervillains coming on talk shows. Like actually being invited to sort of explain their public behavior. It's like, did it not occur to you that I am a super villain? like my choice in language towards women is probably should be the least concerning thing about me. Like they kind of drop the hint that he's basically mind controlled Giganta, or I don't know the character's name. They're into being his wife. That's some pretty horrifying stuff there. And it's not that gets him on the TV. It's that he called Wonder Woman the C word in a fight.
Yeah, this is really, really funny stuff. Again, playing with some modern ideas. The idea of what you say being almost worse than what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in no way endorsing that kind of language, but it's these are supervillains. You don't exactly expect them to be like the most socially conscious of people.
Do you watch Family Guy at all?
I haven't really watched it that much since its initial 3 seasons, but here and there, like I might poke my head in or see the odd clip on YouTube.
They did a bit with Brian where he made a racially sensitive joke on Twitter, and he became a pariah of the town, and he had to move out for a while.
Yeah,
and I want to say there was like a handful of episodes that dealt with that. So this most recent episode, they played up that gag again, where he's like, "Hey, that's funny," and he goes on Twitter, and he was like, "And putting that on Twitter," and you hear his phone start to ding with notifications. He's like, "And I have to move out again."
Yep. Yeah. Though with the case of Dr. Psycho, it's not like he was misunderstood. He's like, "Yeah, what did I do wrong?"
So yes, he finds an opportunity in being one of Harley Quinn's henchmen. It's kind of a group of misfit toys here with Clayface, Dr. Psycho, and Harley Quinn.
Yeah, King Shark.
King Shark will eventually be part of the group, which I love. So King Shark in like the Flash show, he's more animal than he is man. He's just a psychotic beast. I love the fact that on this show, and I believe he's played by Ron Funches.
I could not say, but yeah, go on.
He's played by the comedian Ron Funches, and it's like instead of making him just like a mindless beast, they made him a computer whiz, kind of a nerd.
Yeah. It's like I don't really want to do like the shark things, and then you see like him break into a place, and the first thing he does is bite the head off the security guy, and then he sits down and starts hacking.
So that's actually the next episode where they are. This is now everything is in steps in the beginning. So first she needed a crew. First she needed a break from the Joker. Then she needed to find and achieve a goal. She realized the goal was out of reach just now, so she needs to get a crew in order to get her there. Now they need a nemesis. That's the next thing that she realizes. In order for me to be taken seriously, I have to have a good nemesis. And it's so funny because it's played like she's looking for a boyfriend, but she's looking for a nemesis.
Well, I mean, the Lego movie kind of did that. The Lego Batman movie, I should clarify, which was good, Robert.
I don't want to.
So Star Wars.
Yeah, really. So, but what I loved about this episode is that she tries to get Superman. That doesn't work. This is where she recruits King Shark, and she captures Robin. And it's the Damian Wayne version of Robin, which a lot of people don't like because he's such a twat. But that twattiness is played so well in this episode, and like he basically becomes her nemesis. But because he's like a sidekick and a little kid, she's like, I don't want you. And this basically apes a love story between these two, and it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's a kind of I don't want to sleep with you. Well, I'm going to tell everyone that you did anyway, and who's going to believe who? I mean, he enters on like a hoverboard, which still doesn't actually hover. Seriously, people, why are you calling hoverboards hoverboards? They don't hover. It's a Segway without a handlebar. But anyway, he enters on a hoverboard, quote unquote. So already you hate him.
Yeah, it's the last little bit with Batman there, where he's like, when they're talking about whether or not he's ready for his own nemesis, and Batman's trying to comfort him, and he makes him a sandwich and all of that. He's like, "Am I ready for sex yet?" Batman just like, "What? No!" And
the bat signal.
But this is probably one of my favorite episodes of the whole season. It's because the stuff with Damian Wayne was so funny to me. The really cute stuff that they did here. So the next thing they need is a new lair, because all of their shenanigans get them. So they've been living with Poison Ivy up to this point.
Yeah, in her apartment, which is quite nice.
In like a C plot, she and Kite Man kind of develop a thing, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Oh yes,
dude, Kite Man on this show is so funny. Kite Man's like basically just like a bro, and everyone makes fun of him because he's Kite Man. He's like one of Batman's like D tier villains, but that's also played for a lot of laughs. And and Poison Ivy's supposed to be this learned botanist, eco-terrorist.
Yeah. And she keeps on trying to remind people.
And she should have no time to cotton to this bro jockey D-tier dweeb. Yet apparently, in the most inexplicable thing about girls, you never know. Despite all logic, they always go for the guy that seems like they're opposite. And that's what's funny about this between the two of them is that she's so smart and he's so dull and dumb, like dull, like not sharp.
Yeah. Like, do we want to get into this now, or are we going to just kind of do summary and then get into characters?
Nope, let's just go.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well. I like in the first episode where you meet Kite Man and he's crashing and burning, trying to flirt with Poison Ivy, and but then she needs to go back to her place to get the antidote because she's infected a bunch of these kids at a bar mitzvah. If you haven't watched the show, listener, and hearing that you don't want to watch it, like, I don't know what to say. But, yeah, they go back to her place, and she grabs the antidote, and then she finds him, like, naked in her bed. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, you mean we're not doing this? Like, no, like, really, when I said go back to my place to get the antidote, I meant go back to my place to get the antidote. It's like, oh, yeah, my bad, I totally misread that. Okay, but just the fact that, he's kind of being a douche, but then when he realizes, oh, I got the wrong idea, sorry. I think that's kind of, one of the things that you kind of say, okay, I can kind of see that. But, like, in relationships, like, it's all about, like, who compliments who. And, maybe, sure, Poison Ivy is this very serious, learned person, and Kite Man is a lot more fleeting. And, his whole thing is like, yeah, but I have a kite. I think that kind of, she likes that.
Yeah.
It's a hard work, having two people who are exactly the same in a relationship. Like, you need to complement each other, and yeah, like, even when they go out on that date and she's trying to hide who she is because she doesn't want to be seen, doesn't want it to get out. She's not a public person, and he's like, oh, I didn't realize it. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Like, he seems to be accepting of her the way she is.
Yes.
And yeah, so as much as Kite Man is a silly character, and that's the point. I think they do actually try and make like a decent relationship between the two of them.
Yeah, she ends up developing real feelings for him. I mean, it's implied that, like, despite herself, she's turned on by him, and then after being with him for a little while, realizes how much she really likes the guy, despite herself, because this is not the right guy for her. But you can't control who you're going to love. Sometimes, love is just strange like that. But
hey, I'm still trying to figure out why my wife is still here.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Somehow she thinks she has the good deal, and she wonders why I'm still here. I'm like, hold on to that thought.
I just want to say the really funny thing about that episode, all the guys like try. The only way to administer the cure was to kiss the teenagers, the kids at the bar mitzvah.
The antidote had to mix with her saliva.
Yeah, so she has to kiss them, and you see like the one kid, like very cartoony, just like lining up again. It's like, hey, get out of here, you. Yeah,
nice try, but no, you're too young to be playing this game.
Yeah, I thought that was adorable. I laughed pretty hard at that. Anyway, so back to they were rooming with Poison Ivy, and for a little while there was an ongoing gag of
Frank.
And Frank of Ivy destroying Harley destroying something in Ivy's apartment.
Yeah, it was either the TV or the coffee table.
Yeah,
which was apparently a very nice coffee table.
And so they were too loud for Cyborgman.
That works.
And eventually they got evicted, so they had to get a new lair. And so that brings us to episode 5, being Harley Quinn, where they're shopping for a new lair, and she's trying to figure out what her brand is, and she goes into 4th degree brain freeze. So Ivy has Psycho bring them, Clayface and King Shark, into Harley's mind, and this is where They do it's like a being John Malkovich kind of a thing.
Yeah, except it's being Harley Quinn. Hey, that's the episode title. Funny that.
And so, a lot of the episode deals with something that they don't often touch on, at least with any kind of real depth, and that is Harley's own psychosis. You know, everyone gets that she's attached to the Joker. Everyone kind of gets the idea that, oh, he manipulated her. You know?
Yeah.
And that and it's like, if you look at her psychology, it's all post-Joker. You never get to see what is the ground that was laid for her to have been allowed herself to be manipulated by the Joker and go down this road. Because certainly not everybody is susceptible to being manipulated by a sociopath.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the Killing Joke, right? Where Joker's like, everyone's just one really, really bad day away from being me, and then in the end being like, no, like, I mean, bad day doesn't help, but no, like, you're still just a horrible person, and you're doing these things because you are a horrible person.
Yep, for every Joker there is a Job. You know, no matter if you don't know the Book of Job, Job has a good life with a family and a farm and all of that, and God and the devil make a deal. And the devil says, if you took all that away from him, he'd curse you. He would not be your humble servant. And nothing God does, and God's like, oh, hold my beer.
Yeah, challenge accepted.
Kill his wife, his family, salt his field,
crops,
give him boils.
Yeah, burns his house down, just takes everything away. Gives him various diseases, like... Yeah.
And Job remains his humble servant. So, for every Joker, there is a Job.
Yeah, when I read the Book of Job, and he's like talking with his friends, and they're trying to convince him to repent or whatever. It's so read like a Facebook conversation. Like seriously, you could rewrite that section as a Facebook conversation, and it would look about right.
So,
but that's another topic for another day, another podcast. But yeah, it goes that Harley, she had things in her life leading up to that point that made her a lot more susceptible to sort of going crazy evil.
Yeah.
Not to absolve the Joker. He still did horrible things.
So she decides, you know, then this is kind of like her moment of she'll define who she is, not what has happened to her will define it, but she'll decide what is the relevant starting point for building up her personality and being herself. And she decides it's the moment that she broke up with the Joker.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, since they're all like in a coma, I forget what happened here. Why is it that Borgman decided they all needed to burn?
Because he went home and he thought that they were all dead, and like having the police come and find 5 bodies of supervillains and sidekicks in your place is probably not very good for people asking questions and insurance and real estate and all that stuff. So better to make them disappear quietly. And as we learn, he used to be with the CIA, so he's probably got a few skeletons in his closet he'd rather not have dealt with, and he also has access to people who are experienced in disposing of bodies.
They wake up. They wake up just in the ta-da nick of time to prevent being burned alive, as it were, and that's where they find the mall, and that becomes their new lair.
Yeah, the abandoned mall.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to abandoned warehouses?
We have more abandoned malls now than we have abandoned warehouses.
Progress.
Abandoned malls are more fun. Yes, exactly.
True. Yeah, I would much rather have my lair in an abandoned mall.
So we start to shift here as we get to episode 6. You're a damn good cop, Jim Gordon. This is the one where Jim Gordon gets depressed because Batman doesn't see him as a friend. And Batman confiscates the bat signal. I believe this is also the one where Clayface's arm gets cut off.
Yeah, he loses his arm and it turns into its own sentient being.
Right, and it befriends Jim Gordon.
Yeah, it's almost like Towley minus the drugs, talking to Jim Gordon, and just tell me how you feel. Oh, that sucks. he should show you more respect, and yeah, they just become like best friends.
I think Harley
I
and the
think he's
crew.
also trying to get the hand to confess to something not poison. Harley Quinn's done. That's the ticking clock of the episode. Is they have to get the hand back before it spills the beans.
So Harley is trying to impress a critic that slandered them, and so she steals a teleporter from Wayne Enterprises and all of that. And I think like the lesson here at the end of this is, Harley realizes she had been selfish in ignoring her teammates. She encourages Batman to help stop Gordon after he starts obsessively defending the hand. Batman reconciles with Gordon, Clayface reabsorbs his hand, and Harley and her crew escape. As they celebrate, they realize they forgot King Shark and quickly break him out of prison. So this was one of those episodes that they were like, let's play around with some of the other characters in the cast here. Let's give some other people something to do. The thing with Harley in this one is, not taking her crew for granted.
Yeah,
being so obsessed with whatever her goals are.
Yeah, you got to take care of your crew, or they're not going to take care of you. Yeah, learning to be less selfish.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. She's not. The nice thing about her is that she's really not like a fully formed character, just doing stuff in this show. That she is somebody who has to learn. And there's a lot she takes from each episode, kind of make her progress. It's one of the things I really like about the show.
Yeah, she's not incompetent. She's just inexperienced, and the show is showing her gaining that experience.
Right, she has growth.
I mean, she is crazy, impulsive, and irresponsible, but that comes with insanity.
Yeah. And then we have Wanda Sykes, who plays the Queen of Fables.
Oh boy,
this is a great episode. This one. We're up to The Line here, episode 7. So this one, the Queen of Fables is transferred from her U.S. Master Tax Guidebook to prison to Arkham Asylum, where Harley frees her so she can join the crew. And I believe in this one, the big debate is you have the Queen of Fables wanting to be more violent and going to extremes. I think Harley doesn't want to cross certain lines.
This is kind of the problem of having a show where your lead character is a villain. Is villains are kind of bad people. It's like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. You guys do all know that pirates are bad, right? They're not heroes. That's the reason why they had to have what's his face, the stuffy British guy who was the villain for the second and third movies, be such a jerk. Because, really what this guy was doing was the good thing. Getting rid of pirates in the Caribbean was good for pretty much everyone except for the pirates.
Yeah, the Queen slaughters an innocent family who saw what they were doing.
Got to eliminate the descendants.
Yeah. And Harley's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, overkill.
And that's the whole episode, basically, is that you have the Wanda Sykes character who's like, you're a villain and you got to do everything you can to succeed. And Harley's like, that's not who I want to be. I don't want to be a crazy murderer.
I'm more like Robin Banks and blackmailing the Gotham City Transportation Department to let me design a highway.
She ends up making an enemy out of the Queen of Fables. Because they save at one point they save her from who becomes the other villain of this show, which is Jason Praxis, who is the surviving member of the family with electrical powers, who's of course seeking revenge. And so this is to kind of set up a later episode where the Queen of Fables comes back. The next one with Aquaman is hilarious.
Yes, nice to see that even after the Aquaman movie, he can still be a punchline.
Yeah, there's some really fun stuff here. Harley's crew steals Atlantean jewels. This one's called...
No, they steal Aquaman's family jewels.
So this is another one that deals with the Legion of Doom and her trying to get into it. This is the one where she's invited to join the Legion of Doom, but not because they really want her. It's subterfuge to get Ivy to join, and it's like, well, if you join, then we'll take Harley too. Yeah. And putting Ivy on the spot. And this is another one where I think Harley and Ivy basically get into a fight because, Harley is singularly focused on joining the Legion of Doom, And Ivy, A, doesn't want to be a part of it, and B, doesn't want her to be a part of a group that is using her and manipulating her. But Harley doesn't see it that way. Harley only sees the goal.
Yeah, the validation.
So this sets up some tension between Harley and Ivy. It's a very well written episode. Even with all the jokes about Aquaman and Atlanteans and all of that, the stuff with Harley and Ivy here is sort of the base of it all, and it's really good relationship stuff.
Yeah, and it also kind of shows that Ivy helps out Harley despite things. Like even during the heist, Ivy doesn't consider herself part of Harley's crew, but she's like, hey, you asked for a favor, so I came. And then when it gets to the point where Ivy's not comfortable about things, all Harley can think about is, well, what about me? She hasn't really learned that friendship is a two-way street.
So this is kind of like a two-part episode, because the next one's called The Seat at the Table. And in this one, the Joker's like, hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're part of the Legion of Doom. And so this is the beginning of the pull away from her group. Harley has this crew around her, and they've been helping her, and they've been, it's helping keeping her on her feet. And
she's learning her lessons about how to,
right.
be a good, responsible
but
villain.
Every good dysfunctional relationship, the boyfriend comes back and says, this time it'll be different. And that's the Joker's whole role here. And then, the same...
I mean, to his credit, he did it as best he could. Like, this wasn't just like poor, dumb Harley Quinn. This was like Joker, like, okay, let's try this from a different perspective, like actually, trying to talk her up and acknowledge her achievements.
Yeah,
and then at the last minute, pull the rug out from under her.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, just the Joker arguing with the contractor about the trapdoor was so good. It's like, why did I get a permit for a trapdoor? The whole point in having a trapdoor is that nobody knows about it.
It's
sidebar. Alan Tudyk, fantastic.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. I assume we're going to do characters later.
Yeah, sure. This is great because, like I said, because the Joker actually really charms her in this one. Instead of just being like a crazy psycho that she's wandering around like a puppy, like in this one, she's you have the Joker who's like, let me listen to your plan. I think this is a great idea, and slowly but surely, like getting between her and her crew to the point where she like abandons them.
Yeah, well, he even uses the whole like, I'll help you learn the back doors and how to work the system to get your crew out from being subcontracted out to Bane.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so she starts off like going like, I'm going to learn this. I'm doing this to help out my career, and then he starts working his way in relationship wise as well.
And again, it's such a dysfunctional bad boyfriend girlfriend thing to do, where it's just like they try to get you away from your friends, try to separate you from your family, so that they're the only thing in your life, and you'll become more attached to them and ultimately let them get away with more. It's really sick, actually.
Yeah. I mean, again, the Joker, not a good person.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. Like, they wrote the Joker like just a believable shithead, which
really, he doesn't care about Harley after she breaks up with him. What he cares about is that she's breaking up with him and succeeding.
Right.
Like later on, where we have the big sort of twist with him destroying the Legion of Doom, he sort of says, it's not what it used to be. They'll let in anyone now. Like, basically saying, like, it's not worth it now that they've let her in.
I think the other side of it is he always has to be the one in control. I guess now, if you want to talk about Joker, we can. We're certainly doing enough of it. He's always got to be the one in control. He has to be the one who has the upper hand all the time. And so what's eating at him is that, as you said, she walked away from him and she succeeded.
And she kicked his ass.
And she kicked his ass. And it's like, and I think the worst of it all is that he's not the one that he's not the one that initiated the breakup.
Yeah, she broke up with him. Yeah.
Right? He can't live like that. And so he's creating a situation where she'll come back to him just so he can break up with her. So that he can have that power.
Yeah, and he has the control again.
Yeah, and and a big thing about their relationship is like him pushing her, him using her as like a human shield and shit like that. And what does he do? He pushes her out of the helicopter and Batman catches her And it just breaks your heart because Batman looks at it and goes like, pushed you out of the helicopter again, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he's still, some things never change, Quinn, because, they do the bit where Batman shows up on the boat, actually just like in the first episode, and then Joker goes to run away in his helicopter, and this is the point where before he had said, there's nothing I like more than, making my escape while you, buy me time. And this time he's like, we're going to make my escape and you're coming with me. And it just, you get that moment where Harley's like, he's going to ditch me again. And then he says, no, with you. And so, now, like, her defenses are totally gone. Like, she's like, this is a new Joker. This is our new relationship. And then as they're flying away, he kisses her and then kicks her out of the chopper laughing as he flies away. Like that is just, that's twisting the knife and squeezing some lemon juice in while he's at it.
Another thing that happens in this episode is that, Ivy, who sees what's happening here and says it outright and tells her, like, from a million miles away what's going to happen to her, and Harley just won't listen to anybody. And then so Ivy's like, you know what, screw you then. And Harley's like, no, I still want my friends. I can still have my friends. What do we need to do? She's like, let's plan a caper together. And, of course, so they're going to do Ivy's thing. And because of the Joker, she ditches Ivy.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean to, but just gets too caught up and can't say no. And so...
I mean, it's a little bit one of those, the usual misunderstandings where if they just sat and talked for like 2 minutes, they would say, oh, okay, I see why you did that.
Right.
But still, yeah, in the end, it's like, oh, you weren't there because you were doing Legion of Doom business. You were there with the Joker, your ex-boyfriend, who I've been trying to convince you all show, is bad for you.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, if you've ever been the friend of somebody who's in a terrible relationship, it can be exhausting. And, even as the friend, like, we learn this when you become a therapist, social worker or whatever. If you put more work into trying to help somebody than they're willing to put in themselves, you'll become exhausted and burnt out in no time.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with a lot of friends is you say, dump that zero, get with a hero, that sort of thing. Like, you need to break up with him, and the person just won't listen. They keep doing it. And then suddenly you're the one that's exhausted, and you're like, fuck it, why am I bothering?
Yeah.
So that's where Ivy gets to, which I thought was actually very well written. And she's like, well, I'll just do this myself. And, of course, she gets captured.
Yeah. I kind of wish that there was a bit more of a connection. Is that why the Legion of Doom wanted her in the first place? Is because they had this plan to use her to terrorize Gotham? But anyway, that was never really established very well.
Yeah. So,
but I guess that might just be one of those things that ended up on the cutting room floor or got lost in script revisions. But anyway, yeah, so she gets kidnapped and like drained of her blood or geez, what is it called? Photosynthesis stuff.
Pheromones?
No, it's not pheromones. Oh, geez. I can't remember what the chlorophyll?
Sure, chlorophyll.
Maybe. Man, it's a good thing I'm in engineering because I'd make a terrible biologist. Chlorophyll. I think that was it. Chlorophyll.
All right. So that brings us to episode 10. Everybody, there's no Legion of Doom. There's no Joker. There's no crew. There's no Ivy. Harley is alone in the world, and she's a victim of her own making. All of her bad decisions have led her to this lonely, lonely place. So she goes back to Bensonhurst. She returns home because she's got
nowhere else to go.
She's got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, following the advice of Sane Her, who's another character we need to talk about a little bit.
So while she's at home, you get to meet her family. You get to meet her dad, who's a deadbeat.
Find out about her gymnastics career that she threw so he could repay his mob debts, and then he just bought more fancy stuff that he couldn't afford.
One of the B plots of this is that somebody's trying to assassinate Harley.
Yeah, because she ruined his bar mitzvah.
Yes. And it turns out it ends up being like her dad who's trying to cash in.
Yeah, that was, at first I think it was, Penguin's nephew, and then, her dad decided to give it a shot too. Right after she, killed most of the mob to get him off the hook for money he owed them.
But Frank the Plant finds her, and says,
Yeah.
"Hey, Ivy's in trouble," and that's pretty much the end of that episode. But
and Bane declares war on a chair.
yes.
Ah, chair, I am your reckoning. God, Bane's so good in this. We'll get to that.
So Harley apologizes and reunites with her crew so they can help her rescue Ivy.
Yeah, more for the rescuing Ivy part than the apology.
This is a pretty straightforward episode. Scarecrow harvests Ivy's pheromones so that he can use them to destroy Gotham before poisoning her with his fear toxin, sending her into a panic. Psycho brings the crew into Ivy's head while Borgman protects their bodies. Inside her head, Frank informs them the only way to save Ivy is to destroy the thing she fears the most, which appears in the form of a Grim Reaper. Harley defeats the Reaper but sees her face under the hood before they wake up. Scarecrow tries to escape on the Harley Quinn highway. My God, that Harley Quinn highway bit is hysterical. They basically made it look like a roller coaster. There was a lot of jokes about that.
It's like a Matchbox set or a Hot Wheels thing. Yeah, that's good how it ties back into the earlier episode where she was like getting them to rename a highway, and then we find out that they also let her design it. Well, we're forced to let her design it.
It's a funny gag.
Makes for a good action scene.
Borgman turns into a transformer, which I howled at. I forget. There's a line. There's a whole gag that goes into it. But basically, like, he becomes a car, and there's a lot of really funny things that happen on the highway. It's like a really prolonged gag. But I remember howling during that scene.
Yeah, well, he mentions, like they were experimenting with like a certain line of children's toys, and then I volunteered for the procedure, and now I'm like a transmogrifier or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so they don't get sued.
So Ivy tells Harley her fear is being abandoned by someone she trusts, and that she resents her for being with the Joker instead of helping her. Harley attempts to make amends by blowing off the head of her statue to stop Scarecrow, but he succeeds in poisoning the Gotham reservoir and infecting the city's water supply with Ivy's pheromones, turning most of Gotham's trees into violent monsters, which brings us to our last two episodes, Devil's Snare and the Final Joke. Scarecrow starts crop dusting fear toxin around Gotham's perimeter to force thousands of civilians towards the park with the murderous trees. As Batman tracks him down, the Justice League arrives to stop the trees. They assume Harley's crew is behind the attack and attempt to send them to the Phantom Zone, but Ivy uses Wonder Woman's lasso to prove them wrong. The League is then trapped in a fairy tale book by the returning Wanda Sykes, the Queen of Fables, who uses a beanstalk to send Harley and her crew to be attacked by a giant. With Kite Man's help, they are able to return to the ground safely. Joker suddenly appears with a larger tower and destroys Legion of Doom headquarters as he enacts his plan to take over Gotham City and orders the Queen of Fables to kill Harley and her team. Ivy uses the contaminated water to grow into a giant to fight the trees while Harley defeats the Queen of Fables, beheading her in the process. Just as Harley makes amends with Ivy...
Best line in that episode, you know those shows about, wolf versus shark? The winner is, removes bone from teeth, shark.
Just as Harley makes amends with Ivy, Joker shoots a giant flagpole through Ivy's chest. Yeah, that was rough, man.
Yeah.
As funny and irreverent and, well written this show is, like, there are some real heartbreaker scenes.
Yeah. On the bright side, he didn't use the C word, so I guess it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to get that one. But yeah, that was pretty rough.
So Ivy's dead, at least for now. There's a funeral in the Final Joke. And so Batman and Harley join forces to take out the Joker and avenge her. Batman skydives to the top of the tower to take him down. However, Clayface inadvertently ruins the plan and gets the crew and Batman captured, while Harley is forced into hiding. His takeover largely complete, Joker spends the next week subjugating Gotham and brutally torturing Batman and the crew, only to get bored. So that was I love that way they write Joker. As somebody who, like, he has to be always pursuing.
Yeah.
When he actually achieves his goals, he's miserable.
Yeah, he's like a dog chasing a car. He wouldn't know what to do if he caught one. That's a great line.
Yes. Scarecrow unmasks Batman, but Joker kills the former for ruining the mystery, which I thought was also brilliant. So Harvey is at Ivy's grave.
And then he proceeds to yell at him about why he hasn't gotten his electric car yet.
Frank and Kite Man tell her the crew is going to be publicly executed, so she surrenders herself in exchange for their lives. Once her crew is safe, Harley tries to kill the Joker, but he gets the upper hand. Instead of killing her, Joker decides to drop her an acid that will render her normal. But at the last minute, a resurrected Ivy saves Harley, drops the Joker in the acid, though not before he destroys his tower and Gotham. Batman saves Harley and Ivy before disappearing into the debris. Reunited, the crew reflect on everything that has happened amidst Gotham's ruins while a normal Joker emerges from the rubble, and we are now set for No Man's Land in Season 2, which will be debuting, I believe, April 3rd, 2020, unless it's pushed off because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, I think TV shows are pretty much safe.
Nope, nothing is safe.
Yeah. Really, they should just release movies direct to streaming now. I mean, that's going to be what they're doing in 10 years anyway. Just
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Just rip the Band-Aid off, film industry. Sorry, it's true.
What kills me is when they delayed Mulan after I think what first went down was James Bond, which had already been delayed from last year. And then a whole bunch went down today, and I was like, and Mulan is still keeping its. Nope, there it goes.
Yeah, well, it could be worse. I have a coworker who is going to take his family to Disneyland this weekend.
No, he's not.
Nope.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I have a friend, Chris Bailey, another one of you.
Chris Bailey?
Yes, Chris Bailey. He lives in the Newfoundland area. Was telling me that he was planning to come to Florida. I'm like, you might want to wait till mid-April or May. So,
yeah, now is not a good time to start making travel plans.
That's the problem. Is you don't start making them and then go the same month. You make them months in advance, and so having been somebody who's had to cancel certain things or had things canceled on him after having I've missed one or two cruises or big things because of my various conditions. It sucks, man. When you've been the first time I got hospitalized and we had to miss a cruise because of it, my kids had been doing a countdown thing. They had these chains that they made, these paper chains, and you took a ring off for every day, and we were almost there. I got hospitalized the day before we were supposed to leave.
Yeah.
And they were they got over it, obviously. We ended up going
a
few months later.
That's life. Yeah.
I think we went in September of that year instead of April, but still, they're poor little broken hearts. Anyway, so I can imagine.
I've been waiting for Top Gun 2 since I saw Top Gun 1. I can wait another year if I have to. I don't want to, but I can.
That's another one that got delayed from its original date.
Did it?
But it was supposed to come out, I think, last year. But then it got delayed.
Oh, right, yeah, it got delayed last year. Yeah, but it's still in July, I think, this year it's coming.
So it has plenty of time to be delayed again.
Yeah, it might be, but I guess it's too far out for them to announce a delay yet.
Right. Well, yeah, they're still Black Widow is still keeping its date until it gets delayed too. Now they're only working. Right now, March is just getting wiped clean.
Yeah.
Do you have tickets for anything in March? Well, shove them up your ass because there ain't no toilet paper neither.
Well said.
Anyway, so that's the show in a nutshell. I loved it.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about characters?
Yeah, I was gonna pitch it to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Just kind of go through some of the characters that you wanted to focus on.
Yeah. Well, of course we have to talk about Calendar Man.
Sure.
No, but I do love it whenever they sort of throw out to the more obscure, silly Batman villains, and just the gag of oh wait, you know exactly how many days Harley's been in Arkham, but you can't remember your son's birthday.
There's a lot of really fun stuff in
cactus,
this.
and they're like, plant. You have to be a real idiot to bring a plant near Poison Ivy. No wonder your dad can't remember your birthday, kid. It's ouch, but funny.
There's a lot of really talented people in this.
I love it when Gordon goes to grab Joker's file and then he brings it up and it's just it's a novelty greeting card and it's him doing the surfing in the 60s Batman where it's just the shorts on over his suit. Just, brilliant.
So you have Kelly Cuoco as Harley Quinn, who I think does a really good job with the voice.
Yeah, definitely. She doesn't have that sort of Brooklyn accent that she's usually associated with, but I think still her performance is really well done.
Yeah, I think that and Kelly Cuoco gets undersold a lot by people because she spent a million years on The Big Bang Theory, where she was the sexy neighbor.
She did have the easiest character. You have to be like a beautiful young actress, as a young aspiring actress.
Great.
Never done that in my life.
I said of Kelly Cuoco, I always enjoyed her on The Big Bang Theory because she had to make a lot of fart face, and she did a really good job with that.
Yeah, it was more her playing off of the other guys. Whereas, like, you see, like, was it Jim Galecki in real life? It's like he's nothing like Leonard. Yeah, it's almost like he's acting.
Yes. But she does a really great job here. I have to, all the people who have had a crack at Harley Quinn, whether it be voice actresses or real life actresses, I think she does a laudable job here, and it's worth watching her just for that.
Yeah, I think she's into it, so I think that helps. Like,
I think she's a producer on this. This was like a passion project for her.
Yeah, so
Lake Bell as Poison Ivy, I thought she did a good job.
Oh, definitely a great. I hate to use the phrase "straight man" for Harley Quinn. If you kind of get my drift, like the comedy role, not an actual literal straight man. But yeah, she's good to play off of that, and I like the whole idea of Ivy being this more introverted, ecologically minded person. Because especially introverts are very picky about their friends. Like if you're friends with an introvert, that means that they really like you, and they will go to a lot of lengths for you. They don't really have casual fleeting relationships with people. So yeah, when you see like Harley, just take her for granted and ditch her for the Joker, like you understand that really hurts her.
Yeah, and I thought I thought the animators, the writers, the actress all did a good job of bringing that out. Diedrich Bader
had a really nice jacket.
Diedrich Bader, who was on the Drew Carey show. He's a pretty famous voice actor. He's been in a ton of shit, not the least of which was Office Space, Napoleon Dynamite, Veep. He's really good. He plays Batman. Ron Funches is a really funny comedian. He plays King Shark. I said that before. Tony Hale is who's on Arrested Development. He was in Toy Story 4. He was also in Veep as Dr. Psycho. Is hilarious.
Yeah.
Jason Alexander plays Cyborgman. He's funny. He's playing an old man. And yeah, Alan Tudyk, and I'll throw it back to you. Alan Tudyk as the Joker. He's not quite Mark Hamill, but he's damn good.
I mean, no one is Mark Hamill. Like Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy are kind of like untouchable at this point. But like, I could accept him as the Joker. Like he really embodied this character, this version. He's a bit more sort of like Cesar Romero, but actually kills people. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of like the more fun, wacky Joker, whereas Mark Hamill, I think, was always a lot more menacing.
I would say this version of the Joker is closer to I can't remember the actor's name, the one from the Lego Movie.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's name either, but it's a good take on the character, and it works so well with the humor of the show, just how completely random he is. Mm-hmm. Like he's having this big fight, and then he gets a call from his contractors, like, oh, you know what, I'm just not feeling it anymore. I got to go take care of this. Just drops it right there.
Like I said, like the main thrust of the Joker, like this isn't necessarily the Killing Joke Joker.
No.
This is. Again, he's just more he's more like dysfunctional sociopath boyfriend than he is like Crown Prince of Crime.
Yeah, it's more like the way that the characters are done in this show. It almost feels more like that Looney Tunes cartoon where you have like the sheepdog and the coyote, and like they clock in every morning. Morning Frank, morning Steve, and then they just start murdering each other for the episode, and then at the end, the sun sets and they clock out in the punch card machines, like night Steve, night Frank. Like you could almost imagine Sam. That was it. Sorry, I my apologies to Looney Tunes fans, but it's you almost get the sense that these characters are almost aware of them existing in this superhero world and the rules of said world.
So it's Zach Galifianakis is who we were thinking of.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was it. And even, Batman I thought was decently voiced in this one. I mean, he doesn't have a lot to do. They're going with this whole funny, Batman is so stoic and takes himself so seriously that putting him in these situations and him just refusing to lighten up at all, that's kind of the main humor about his character.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which I'm glad still exists because, Batman doesn't always have to be super dark and serious. I mean, yes, his parents were killed, but, you can't hold on to it at that level for that long.
You also, in a show called Harley Quinn that's focused on her, you don't want to give Batman too much. I'm surprised he was in the show at all.
Yeah, he's there as much as he needs to be. Like the bigger forces are there as much as they need to be, your Superman and Wonder Woman. But yeah, they usually keep Harley and the gang down at the level that, that sort of street level crime that they work best at.
Yeah, which I liked.
Yeah, and even when the Justice League does show up, it's like, oh damn, things are serious now. You can't take on Superman and Wonder Woman at the same time. Like, you guys are just completely different level, and it's only Ivy thinking to use the lasso of truth so they can explain truthfully what happened to prove that they're not lying. So
additional voice. Sorry, I keep cutting you off because I think you're done. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's been a long day.
So the rest of the voice cast, I'm just going to read a couple of these because, like I said, it's a long list, but there's a lot of named people in this. You have Alfred Molina. You have Tisha Campbell Martin, Giancarlo Esposito. You have Wayne Knight, Phil Lamar, Howie Mandel's in this. Chris Maloney.
Oh yeah, I think he played himself until he got killed.
Yeah. Chris Maloney, Will Sasso. As I said before, Wanda Sykes, Jacob Tremblay. So there's a lot of big time actors and voice actors in this. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think everyone does a good job. I can't really think of a bad performance.
No.
In the show.
So I'm going to let you have the kind of the last words here. Whether there's something that a character you wanted to talk about, or an element that we just haven't discussed. But and I want to once again say I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep cutting you off. So I am going to just let you go, and you tell me when you're done.
That's fine. Other podcasts would have us record separately and edit it so it sounds like we're having a structured conversation. But no, you're getting it raw, people. This is Thursday Night Raw on the Wrestling to the Max network.
That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, as my introduction should suggest, I quite like Clayface, and it only occurred to me now, the whole idea of making him this sort of aspiring actor, but not really good at it. Because you look at his power set, he can shapeshift into anyone. That would be an incredible advantage for any supervillain to have on their team. But the fact that he just keeps messing it up so much because he gets so deep into his backstory that he just ends up blowing his cover. Or at the end they have they're singing Happy Birthday to the Joker because it's his birthday, and Clayface, who's pretending to be Batman, just can't keep a straight face and has to go and belt it out and do and many more. And it's wait a minute, Batman would never do that. This is a trick.
I loved a lot of the Clayface stuff.
Yeah, try to help Riddler with his line delivery when he's threatening the city, and Riddler's just you know what, I just don't care anymore. The answer's in cornfields. Just go, dismantle my bomb. I'm done. It's just a sort of casual 9-to-5 work ethic for all these characters. Just the show just seems so fun and full of life. You can really tell that the writers and the animators, the actors, they're having a good time. That there's a solid story with some decent thematic material beneath it, but they're not afraid to just go wild and just play around and go crazy in the DC universe. And I'm curious to see where they take it from here. like with Gotham actually being destroyed, Scarecrow's been killed, Howie Mandel's been killed. Joker has been depowered, which I guess means his voice is a little different and his skin is not, completely white. Okay, sure. Where are they going to take his character from that? And Gotham being this wasteland, it's Batman's missing. The Justice League, I think, are still imprisoned in the Fables book, and the Queen of Fables can't save them because she's dead. There's a lot of interesting things that they've done to sort of shake up what's it's going to be in the next season. Is it going to be Harley Quinn conquering Gotham, or will she already have conquered Gotham, or at least gotten her own territory? I'm curious to see where it goes from here. And it's a fun, great ride. They say you can't judge entertainment by saying it was fun. Well, in which case I hope you never grade a horror movie by how scary it is or a comedy by how funny it is. Robert. But I watched this to be entertained, and I was entertained, and that's what I asked for from my entertainment. And if you can squeeze some commentary or something to make me think about life, Star Trek.
Here's the thing: I don't have any complaints about this.
Yeah, I can't really complain about anything other than I wish there was more. 22 episodes isn't long enough. 22 episode isn't enough.
Yeah, it's 13 episodes. I think they initially had asked for 23 episodes, and they were like, you know what? Let's just break this up into 2 bits.
Yeah, I mean, first seasons usually tend to be the shortest, just to see how it goes.
So we'll get the second half of this, or the second season, however they're going to label it, on April 3rd. And like I said, we review a lot of TV here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. I watch a lot of TV.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing a whole lot more this year.
Yeah, really. Mulan, the TV movie.
I'm down for that.
No Time to Die, the TV movie.
Well, that's what we should do. Instead of reviewing Mulan, the new Mulan, we should review the original Mulan on the same date.
Sure, my daughter would love that.
Yeah.
She keeps wanting me to do a comparison and contrast between the 2 Aladdin movies. That's been her pitch since last year. She's like,
a bad idea.
She's like, we should do a podcast where we watch both and compare them. And I'm like, get your own podcast. So, but that's I mean, what I was getting to was, was it The Watchmen or The Wire, The Shield or anything? Well, no, it's a different kind of show. But it's rare that I watch something I'm watching the entire series of BoJack Horseman, which has been described as Netflix's best series ever. People love it.
Yeah,
but I definitely have kind of a mental list of things I'm jotting down of problems I have with the show. I watched the Harley Quinn show, and I literally couldn't come up with a single criticism.
Yeah, I mean, not everything does have to be The Wire or Watchmen. Variety is the spice of life.
Right.
I like grim, gritty, serious, but also I can also enjoy fun, crazy, silly.
But I think that's the thing that I'm trying to say about this is, it flows. The characterizations are brilliant. I think the way they tackle the subject matter. I mean, it can be, is it the heaviest of heavy shows? No, obviously not. But I think it handles very important subjects with care, and its length maybe works against it. But I think for an animated show with this group of characters, with the time they've set, it's really, I said this before, it's really written at a very high level, and I think people who like smart shows but are willing to deal with a lot of silly,
it's
really
silly but not
this.
stupid.
Right.
I've seen serious shows that are absolutely stupid. Hello, Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to go out. I think it's a brilliant way to sum up. It's a well-written show that is silly but not stupid.
Yeah.
All right. So that brings us to the end of our review. Things were dropping off my calendar or being rearranged. I think as we were doing this Saturday, Shakur Stevenson, Miguel Mariaga fight has been postponed or canceled. Fuck me. Which means probably the Tuesday Conlon Belmar Preciado fight will also be canceled. I guess there'll be an announcement on that shortly. But Monday we'll have a doubleheader. I have let Robert out of his obligation because I just got tired of hearing the fucking whining, and I don't need to deal with. I'm married. I got all the grumpy I need in my life. I don't need to deal with friends and podcasters who are going to be purposely grumpy and not be fun and entertaining on an audio medium in a podcast. So
that's why I only talk about the things I want to talk about.
That's right.
It really helps.
So Robert said he intended to be grumpy doing Bloodshot and the boxing on Tuesday, and I was like, how about you just do the boxing, and I'll even see if I can get you out of that. So instead, all that to say, myself and Alexis Hannah will be reviewing Bloodshot Monday afternoon. Well, it's spring break here in Florida that nobody can travel to because it's coronavirus. And then that night, we will have the Bloodshot source material for the first 4 issues, Volume 1, Setting the World on Fire. Wednesday, myself and Jesse Starcher will be reviewing Code Orange underneath. And then Thursday, myself and Sean Comer will be doing an on-trial for the Boondock Saints because of St. Patrick's Day, which will have just been on Tuesday. So that'll be fun. And then, I can't really announce more than that because God knows, 97 things got canceled today.
Yeah, we really should beef up our TV portfolio. Get to some of those things you haven't been watching.
We have reviews of Elimination Chamber, Body Count Carnivore, Onward, and Harley and Ivy Meet Betty and Veronica. Go ahead and do your plugs. I am running out of steam here.
Okay. Well, I might show up for the Red Sun podcast with you and Alexis if I can see it before then. Otherwise it's whatever movie is actually scheduled and stays in its time slot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely would like to do Mulan, Black Widow, Wonder Woman, Dune, Top Gun Maverick is non-negotiable. I will be doing that one no matter what. And as things are almost stabilized for me now, life-wise, just finishing up a move, so I can hopefully get around to planning out our Star Trek retrospective and seeing who's all into that.
All right, very good. Well, for David Wright from our Canadian office, this has been TV Party Tonight's review of Harley Quinn. Be well, be safe, and behave.